Hi, everyone. Just want to say thank you to everyone who has reached out in support of this personal thing that I've been going through. I'm so grateful for your support. I'm so grateful for the feedback. I thank you for the empathy, for humanizing the whole experience, and just really understanding how a lot of us as men are just really, not just men, but males in general, are just really going through a lot when it comes to re-traumatization and re-victimization. So I am really encouraged by your kindness and your gentle, soft words of encouragement through this process and validating the importance of bringing this out into the public's eye. It was not an easy decision, as I've shared in my previous videos, but it's important for us to have this conversation. So I'm so happy at the feedback that I have received, and I'm just going to address one or two questions that have really come up a lot, especially one in terms of just why did I choose to walk away. There's $150,000, about $150,000 worth of equity. There is $22,000 worth of appliances and stuff that I've put in that house. There's another $9,000 to $10,000 worth of outdoor equipment that I've purchased, all with my money, and all of that's in that house and property. There is another $7,000 to $8,000 worth of outdoor things, lights, the solar flowers, a lot of the things that are outside, the security systems, the cameras, there's about $8,000 worth of that. All of that is my money. So let's look at that for a minute. So I emptied my retirement and my savings to do the down payment and to get us started off into what was needed at the house, getting all of that. And then over the last 3 years, purchasing appliances and different things in the house and just making sure that the things that we needed in a house are available in a house. And then looking at the things on the outside to beautify the yard, to maintain the property, to add ambiance, and just really bring this beautiful energy into that space. I talked about the fact that there were people who, at nights, people used to walk past and, stop by the yard because, these beautiful solar flowers that are in the yard at nights. It's a beautiful thing, which no matter which direction you're coming from, the yard is very visible because of just the decor outside. And that was partly because also wanting that space, that property to be a place that brings life, hope, light, happiness to people. One of the things that I love doing is at nights when we're sitting inside, you could hear people outside, talking about, oh, wow, those are beautiful. Look at that. Look at that. And just marveling at how beautiful the yard lights up at night. So that was very comforting for me, and I thought it was for us, but for me, to know that the property brought such happiness, peace, and joy to people that at nights, even at nights, they would just come around and just be, checking out and stuff. So it was a beautiful thing. I cleared out 35 trees in the backyard, between the back and the side of the property. We've had some tree companies come in. They were quoting prices from $12,000 up to $20,000 to take the trees out and all of that. And I was just like, wait a minute, that's a lot of money for that. I didn't realize that the tree business was such a big money thing. So I spent a couple of months reviewing YouTube videos on felling trees and this whole arborist, and it was so fascinating for me. This whole idea. I've seen tree companies cutting down big trees, and I was just so fascinated how they do it, the alignment of it, how they directed the tree to fall in a certain direction. All of that played into this whole new home ownership thing, and so I was very happy about that. So going on YouTube, learning from videos of teaching how to fell a tree and all of that, I did 35 trees in the backyard and the property. I mean, you're talking about some huge trees, tall trees, slim trees. I learned how to, and I went out, I bought the tools, my chainsaw, the oil, the chains, all the tools, ropes, and everything. And that was fun for me to do that. Again, this whole home ownership thing. So it was a lot of work, and it was a lot of work that I put in by myself, again, in the property to enhance the property. Now the backyard is wide open, beautiful, spacious, sunlight, so many things that could be done in that backyard. I remember our first year there was this massive invasion of the species of moths and butterflies. I mean, it were millions. And when it comes to dusk and dawn in the evening, and my partner, she's very sensitive around insects and bugs. So there were a couple of trees that were hanging over one of the areas that we had this patio set up in the back. And I remember one night we were all sitting out there, and some bugs fell off the tree. And I kid you not, she jumped about from where she was lying in the hammock 20 feet down to the next section when the bugs started falling. So I knew that outdoors for her would have been, very challenging, which is one of the reasons why we decided to clean up the trees, because not only just for us to enjoy the backyard, but also with less sun hitting the backyard, the water that was built up when it rains in the soil at the back was also affecting the basement of the house. So that was another reason. With more sunlight, we'll absorb the water and we'll take off the. So all of those things I've studied, I've learned, I've done a lot of work. We talk about in the basement. When we got the house, the basement had a lot of black mold and mildew. It took me about 6 months to dry it out, to scrape the walls, to paint the walls, to figure out which paints would be best to use, like the waterproof paint that would help to keep the water from coming inside the basement. It's 4 months of working on the basement to get it to the point where we could be there, we could breathe. We were going to set up an entertainment room down there. My office would be down there. So a lot of work. I put a lot of work into this property, and by myself. Inside the house, there were walls between rooms that we figured, wait a minute, even upstairs in our bedroom, it was a bigger room and a smaller room side by side, and whereas like the room is small. So I removed the wall separating the two rooms. So now we have this huge bedroom as our room, and that was so awesome because we both love space. Downstairs on the first floor, there was a wall between the kitchen and the dining room. We thought that was a little bit weird. Why would you put a wall between the kitchen and the dining room? So remove that wall, and now we have this huge kitchen and dining room space. So the house was very carpeted. It was an older house. There was carpet in every room. And one of the first things that I looked at when we got in the house, when we finally moved in, was let me see what's underneath the carpet. Lo and behold, looked under the carpet. There was beautiful hardwood floor. Beautiful hardwood floor. I'm like, oh my God, why would they put a carpet on a hardwood floor like this? But then again, you think of being in the north, and when it gets cold and the floor is cold during winter, carpeting up. So what did we do? Ripped up all the carpet, exposed the hardwood floor, beautiful, clean it up, everything beautiful, nice. So there's a lot of work. A lot of work that I've put into this property for maybe, still ongoing up until the point that this whole incident with the restraining order moving from home happened. But it was a lot of work. I did talk about, the injury in my arm here, with this broken. This was, back in 2023, we had a snowstorm and was just shoveling out the driveway, and I just felt like something tore in my arm, and I knew it was something that tore because I felt that's what it felt like. Didn't pay much attention to it, and we had another snowstorm 2 weeks later, and I was shoveling again. I'm like, nah, something is wrong. So when I went to the emergency room and they looked, there was a staple. I've had this injury for about, God, a lot of years, 20 odd years, from a very bad motor vehicle accident. And what happened, the bone was crushed. And so they put a plate and 6 screws into the bone so that the bone would heal over. So you can see it's a very long scar. You could, it's so the bone healed very nicely, but in 2023 when I was shoveling, I think the weight of the snow was very heavy, and I felt the tear. And when I did the X-ray, we realized that two of the screws that were put in had come out on the other side of the bone, so they were not just inside; they had protruded outside, and that's what tore the muscle. So that was in April 2023, and going to the emergency room, and they found out. We saw the X-ray. The doctor said, "Listen, I looked at the bone has healed very well. If you're going to take out the two screws, I suggest we just take the whole plate and screws out." I said, that's a great idea because I wouldn't want to go through this procedure and then that happened again. I have to do that. So had the surgery. And unfortunately, the being so long inside the arm, what happened was the bone had started fusing over the plate and the screws in some points. And so it was supposed to be a short 2-hour procedure. Come to find out, I went into the hospital at 7 a.m. Surgery began at 9. I woke up, it was 4:30 in the afternoon. Hold on, wait a minute, 4:30? I thought that said it was going to be 2 hours. Come to find out, when I had my pre-op, the surgeon says, listen, I have never seen what I've seen in your arm. The tools that we had could not remove the screws or the plate. And she even made a joke. She said we were going to go to Home Depot to buy some tools at Home Depot because so the whole of my arm was bruised and battered. Under my arm, under here, was bruised and battered because of, she said they were shaking. One of the screws, when they were trying to get the screws off, it broke in the bone. And so every 2 hours they had to rest, let my body rest, and then they were back at it again. So I was bruised up from my arm, under my arm, and the side of so much bruising. All of that, plus the fact that when we moved, I was still fresh out of the reconstructive surgery that was done on my foot. So I was still healing from the foot, and also then having the issues with my arm, then all the health issues I was going through. I was going through a lot, but what helped me the most through the pain and suffering was doing the gardening, transforming the landscape. Those were the things that were really therapeutic for me. There were days, even one of my neighbors would say, "Art, why are you out here? Like, you have your boot on, which means your foot's still not healing." But that's how I felt better. It made me feel so much better when I was outside doing the gardening, fixing up the yard, transforming the property. There were a lot of trees and shrubs and different things outside, and all those were the things that helped me through this very rough piece that I was going through with my arm and my foot. There was a lot of pain, physical damage, physical stuff, but it was starting to hit me mentally. But when I was outside, when I'm setting up the garden or cleaning up the shrubs or fixing up, those moments made me feel good. That's what helped me a lot. It was so bad that if I'm outside doing yard work for a day in the garden, and I have to do everything I need to do in one day because my foot would take 3 or 4 days for the swelling to go down, much less the pain. That was how bad my foot was in 2022, 2023. If I spend a whole day on my foot, it would take 3 to 4 days for the swelling and the pain to go down. But the joy that I felt from being outside, from watching this creation, the transformation, the way in which this space now became this happiness, not just for us, but for others, that was therapeutic for me, right? It was. And so I enjoyed that. I dealt with the pain for 2 3 days afterwards, but while going through the pain, the happy thoughts of looking outside and seeing the work and seeing, it was such a beautiful, comforting, peaceful, transforming, and just mindfulness. Sometimes outside working and the neighbors are passing and saying, "Hey, you're doing a great job. It looks great." I was doing all these things while I was in pain, but This was how I coped with my pain. The reason why I'm sharing this with you is I want you to really understand how much work I put into this property, right? How much work I have invested, not financially, but work, physical and psychological work that I've put in this property for the last 3 years. So walking away from this property and all that investment and the time and all that work was not a simple choice or an easy choice, but it was the right choice. And we have to be very understanding of something here, which is why I'm making this specific video on this specific topic, because a lot of people have asked me, how did you walk away from all of that? Like, how do you feel walking away from all of that? As I'm talking at events and different speaking engagements, sharing this whole experience, a lot of people say, how do you walk away and leave all of that to her? Like, you've worked all and you've done all these things by yourself, and now she's reaping the benefit of that by being there of the hard work that you've done. We need to understand something here, and this is a very comforting moment for me to be able to share this enlightenment. You should never allow yourself to be tied to materialism and physical things. If there is something that bothers you, that gets into your heart and your mind, and you're stressing over physical and material things, losing your mind is not going to be the best way to go. You could losing that house, the property, and all of that. God has shown me what my abundance is going to be. God has shown me where my faithfulness is going to lead me to. God has shown me the good character that I've had, the genuine person that I have helping people, and how much I've given to helping and doing. God has shown me my abundance. He has shown me where my losses here are going to be multiplied a whole lot greater in where and what he has in store for me. But the lesson reminds me of Lot's wife when they were told to leave and leave everything behind. It was very hard for Lot's wife to let go, not physically, but mentally, of all the material things that they had that God was telling them to leave behind. And so she turned into a pillar of salt. That story for me, for a very long time from childhood, has been one of the most significant stories in the Bible for me, because it taught me from a child and a young child, never tie yourself to material things, right? Never tie yourself to material and physical things. Disasters are happening every day. Natural disasters are happening every day. We see it every day. Global burning. I call it global burning because it's really hotter than it usually is. It's not warming, it's hotter, it's burning. Fires, earthquakes, tornadoes. All these things are happening around us every day. Natural disasters. You can't tie yourself to a physical entity or material things, because God can just take that away at any minute. When God takes away things from us, sometimes we get broken because of the losses that we feel from those things, and our minds cannot let go of those things. And we talk about how much money we've spent, how much time we've spent, how much resources, how much efforts, all these things. We start validating the cost and value of these things, and forgetting that the more you stress over things and the more energy you put into stressing over things, is the harder it will be for you, and it will take more of your physical and psychological being. Now, I'm not going to drag this whole process through a court system and going through legal issues and a whole bunch of that and costs and all of that stuff. I'm not doing that because, again, I know that this thing that has happened was meant for a reason. For those of you who know me, my whole life story of things that I've been through have been one of the reasons why I am where I am today. Not just working in the behavioral field, not just as a provider in the behavioral health field, not just someone who speaks on these topics, but someone who I have lived through so much pain and suffering and loss and grief and traumatization and victimization and transformation through my entire life. And it's by telling these stories why I've been elevated to the level that I'm at today, where my stories of my experiences are helping to empower other people, transform other people's lives, transcends people's lives out of pain and suffering into purpose and passion. It's because I have shared my stories and I've been very open and transparent about my stories, because I realize God did not bring me here to this space to this day for me to not be grateful that He has saved me. He has saved and spared my life for me to be here. I have had multiple near-death experiences, been on the operating table so many times for different life-threatening things, had so many motor vehicle accidents that I could have died in, had health issues that I could have died from. God did not bring me to be where I am at right now for me to be stressed out or trying to hold on to something that He ultimately knew that was not aligned with me, and He took that away. Whether He allowed the devil through her to do it, or whether He just realized that, you know what, Brett, I wanted you to see for yourself the path and how this was going to play out, because this is not where your journey ends and this is not where your path is going to be. You have to understand something. When you lose your mind, no matter how many material things or how much money you have, when you have lost your mind, you will never find happiness and peace in anything else after that point. When you lose your mind, your ability to stay coherent, compliant, and focused is out the window. So here you are tying yourself to this material thing or this entity, burning out the energy that is within you that should be used for the next version, the next step of your life, but you're still stuck in this place with this one thing. If you look back in the Bible, and I'm a Bible person, I believe in God, I have a strong faith in God, because as I say, God is why I'm still here. But if every time I look back in the Bible of the stories of the people, the men, let me speak to the men who God called and chose for greatness, and how the devil attacked and tempted them with so many ways and things. Some of them, even their wives and families, told them to curse God and turn against God, because when they were losing these material things and their money and wealth, they just were like, curse God because God is forsaken you. God is not with you. But they didn't realize that it was God's allowing him to go through that test to really show the people that were really truly with him and in his life. There are so many stories, and I don't have to call them out by name, but if you look back in the Bible, you will see that those who are called and chosen with the greatest gifts to do God's greatest battles and wars and the ministry, they went through some of the greatest tests and challenges that the devil made against them. So that's what brought me comfort through this whole thing. I knew that this was a spiritual warfare, but I also knew my health, my body was breaking down. My kidneys were failing. Let me break this down for you. My headache, let me work myself down. My headaches were starting to become seizures. Yes. I talked about the fact that I had two seizures where she literally left me one on the floor, one on the bed in fetal position in pain, and she went to work, she left me. My headaches were becoming seizures. My vision was getting bad. I was losing my vision. I'm now wearing a reading glass, a near sight and far sight glasses that I never had to before, right? My heart was enlarged, and they couldn't figure out why my heart was enlarged. I'm having breathing and palpitation issues because of how my heart. My kidneys were failing. I was at stage 3 kidney disease. My kidneys were failing. I have renal disease, arthritis, neuropathy. My body was breaking down. Whatever this thing was, whatever this energy, this toxicity, this demonic energy that was hitting my body, that was really attacking my body, it was breaking me down. My body was breaking down. My body could not sustain itself. And as I went to the doctor, and I told you I had over 60 medical appointments and interactions with specialists in 2 years, 2023, 2024. So I knew that my body was feeling the impacts of whatever was going on, this spiritual warfare, this attack. I don't know where it was coming from or how, but I knew my body was breaking down. My vision scared the daylights out of me. The fact that I was not able to see clearly or see properly the way I used to 3-4 years ago, and how fast I went from not wearing glasses to wearing glasses, and how my body was breaking down. That was one of the things for me that I say, you know what, God, whatever you say, I'm not going to say anything about that. Just tell me what I need to do. And he said, Brett, let go and let me. I remember hearing the voice in my head when I finally started telling myself, you know what, Brett, this is not worth it. She's not worth it. You deserve more. You deserve better. You have been good to her. You have been great to her. You showed up for her. You stood by her. You supported her. You encouraged her. You showed up and put out and stood by. You did more than enough for her. You don't deserve this. And with that piece that now came into my head, I started hearing clearly, and clearer the voice of God. There was so much noise in my head, overthinking about everything and thinking about everything, that I was not hearing God. Two things: never tie yourself to material and material and physical things. They can be taken away any minute by so many different ways. Second thing is, never lose your mind. Your sanity is more important than anything else. You can have all the money in the world, you can have all the materialism, the material things, you can have physical, whatever, all those things, and still be unhappy, and still be of unsound mind, and still be stressed out. Never lose your mind over anything or anyone that stresses you out. If you lose your mind, you will never be at peace. You cannot have peace in a chaotic and noisy mindset, or with chaos and noise in your head. Your body is going to break down from all the noise and the chaos that's in your head that overwhelms you and gets you stressed out. Your body is going to break down. Now I'm having national conversations. See how God has elevated this thing? I'm being invited to speak on national levels about the correlation of health and mental health. Because even my doctors right now are trying to understand, how did my health get that bad through what I was going through, that now I'm off my medications. I'm not on medications anymore. I'm on one medication because my body still has to relearn going to sleep by itself. So I'm on that one medication, but all my other meds I've been tapering off, and I'm off. And now my doctors are like really understanding something I've been saying for many years, that our mental health is much more significant on our physical and our holistic health than we realize. God just put me through that. And now here I am talking on a national level to all kinds of people in healthcare and science and all these neurology and all these stuff about what I've been through in the last 3 years with my health, and now realizing that my health was because of this toxic environment and this toxic thing that was energy that was being around me that I was involved with. So I didn't lose by walking away from her, the house, the property, and all that. No, I didn't. I actually gained a whole lot more. Yes, I have not found housing. Yes, I'm still running around from place to place. Yes, I have not stabilized my income. Yes, but I have gained so much more. I have gained so much more that is so much more valuable than everything I had before, and has put me in a place where no one is questioning what I'm saying, because my medical records are showing this trajectory of my declining health, how my body was collapsing, how my body was breaking down. And now, after this post breakup and separating away from the person, the place, and the everything that she was doing, how my health and my body has started to climb, and how now being able to talk about that is not a question. No one is questioning this. No one is saying, could this be? No, here are my medical records of the last 3 years of my health and my health declining. And here is now where I am 9 months post breakup, and my health getting up to where it needs to be. As I said before, my one ask God, and I pray and I'm praying to Him, I said, God, please allow me to get my vision back to where it was. I'd love to have my vision back. Wearing these glasses, sometimes, it's just, I would love to get my vision back. Okay, so it's all about perspective. A lot of people like, man, you walked away from all of that, and like, you didn't fight. You should have fought. You should have had da. Guys, listen. Sometimes you got to understand your battle is already fought and won. You're just the one who tell yourself that you got to fight. You got to do all these things. God is in control. He is always in control. Even when the devil is attacking you, even when all hell is happening, even when you feel like the world is crumbling around you, do not lose your faith in God. Do not allow your mind, your heart, your body, soul, and spirit to be tied to material and physical things. Be grounded in your faith. Be grounded in who you are. And read your Bible to understand that when God allowed those who He chose to go through the trials and temptations that they went through, and they stayed faithful to Him, He multiplied their abundance 100, 1,000 times. If you stay stuck in this mindset that material and financial wealth is more valuable than your sanity, then you will never have peace. You will never be at peace, and your health will not be well. So I hope this answers your questions and your thoughts, and trying to figure out how I did this because two things. God said to let go and let Him, and I have all the faith in Him that whatever He has planned for me, it will come to pass. And whatever I have lost, He will multiply 1,000 times more. And I'm already seeing that multiplication. I'm already seeing the ways in which this experience, this life experience that I just went through, is going to create a national change across the board that we will now see.
TV voice interaction.
Yeah, on a national level. So yeah, I lost the house. The loss was there. She still is not allowing me to get my stuff from there. As I said, I do have sentimental things from my mother, and I do have 20 years of proclamations and awards and all those things from government and all that type of stuff. I do have some things there that I would love to get, but I'm not going to stress over it, and I'm not going to let that be something that sits on my mind. I'm now focused on being ready for where God is pivoting me to and the level that He's elevating me to, right? So I emptied my cup. I went online. I started deleting a lot of my social media content. I started deleting a lot of things of my online presence because I realized that I'm being elevated to a higher level in a different place, in a different space, and I need to empty my cup. I need to empty my cup and be ready to be filled with what He is going to outpour for me till my cup runneth over. So, my lesson to you all from this, especially for us as men, it hurts. It truly, truly hurts. But sometimes you have to understand that that hurt and pain that you're feeling is not your hurt and pain. You're not the one that caused this on yourself. When someone hurts you, it's on them. When someone deliberately hurts you, betrays you, goes against you when you've done so much and given so much for them, it's not about you. Don't take that pain on yourself. Don't internalize that pain on yourself. You don't know what that person and the demons and how the devil and all of that stuff came at that person, directed that person to you, and all of you don't know. That's their battle. That's not yours. You need to focus on keeping your sanity and your peace. Because without your sanity and your peace, my brothers, listen, without your sanity and your peace, we're going to fall victims repeatedly over and over. You could be triggered to do something stupid. You could be triggered to do something foolish. You could triggered to do something physically violent, or those ways you are triggered is because you are allowing your mind to get out of control. So keep your sanity, keep your peace. Yes, you're hurting, but learn from the hurt. Take the lesson, not the pain, not the hurt. Take the lesson. Learn from it. Understand that you may not have all the answers. You can't decide on what that person chose, or why that person chose, or how that person chose to do what they've done to you. But let it go. Yeah, let it go. Keep your sanity and your peace. That is the most critical thing. Your sanity and your peace. So I hope that by now breaking this down for you to understand, I lost something material and I lost something that's physical. But what I am gaining and where God is elevating me to is 100 times greater than that loss. And if I stay stuck on that loss in my head, stuck on that loss in the past, and just keep, I'm going to be like Lot's wife, turn into a pillar of salt, stuck, can't grow, can't move, and God can't do anything with me because I'm stuck in the past. I'm stuck in that pain. I have not learned the lesson. So to you, my brothers, be well, take care of yourselves. I know that there are a lot of females, a lot of women who've reached out and gave me a lot of support with this, a lot of encouragement with this. And I say thank you to them for recognizing that there are some of us as men who are still good, decent characters, good, decent men, classy men, men with good standards, morals, and ethics, men who believe in God and uphold the values of God. I thank you to the women who have reached out and are encouraging and are saying, I'm sorry for what you have gone through. I'm sorry that you had to go through that. I'm sorry that with all that you have done and shown and given and the love that you have poured, that was never given back to you. The respect that you were given was not given back to you. The loyalty that you gave and you held was not given back to you. Those voices from these women who have reached out have been a big part of my healing. It reminded me of something my mother always told me about having good character. She said, no matter what you're doing, make sure that you are of good character, because it's your character that people are going to remember you by. It's your character that people are going to look at you by. Not how you look, not how you dress, not how you have this persona, but they see who you are through your character. Always make sure that your character is aligned with God and godliness. And to my mother, may her soul rest in peace. Thank her for instilling in me a lot of these values, that even in pain and suffering, I can still be that good man, good person that I was called and chosen to be. So, to everyone who's watching and have been following this story, you're going to see and hear so much more from me as I'm elevated, as I'm speaking at these different events, as now there are laws and legislations that are going to be written as a result of this experience. Don't give up. You are loved.